We're on a rainy front porch this week on Pole House Black Pot Weekend Getaways. What's on the menu?
We're doing applesauce cake from the Waltons, the homecoming.
So stick around. Well, hello. Welcome to our front porch.
Yeah, it's a Saturday morning, kind of dreary and nasty, but at least it's above freezing.
Which it ain't going to be after today.
Yeah, it's going to be cold coming up, and tomorrow's supposed to be drier, but it's supposed to be like 20 degrees colder. The wind chill is supposed to be closer to 0. So today it's in the upper 30s, but it's misty, rainy. So we're crumbled up here close to the house, hoping to stay dry. So what are we cooking today?
Well, you know, we have a show that we watched as kids, and the very first one was a homecoming on Christmas.
That's called From the Waltons, if you remember that. That aired in 1972. And yeah.
Olivia Walton was going to make her applesauce cake. Now, the first one we found had an icing that she would never,
yeah, I think someone didn't do something right, because it
has some kind of alcohol in it, and she wouldn't allow even the sister's recipe to be in there.
In the house. So that wasn't a correct recipe. So we found another one that we're going to go ahead and we couldn't really have found anything. Who knows if it was the original recipe or not.
Well, this is an Amish recipe, and I figure it's probably old enough. The strange thing about it is the leavening agent is baking soda. That's not the strange part. They activate it with boiling water. So
and baking soda, not baking powder.
Did I say baking powder?
Which is it? No.
Baking soda.
You said baking soda, yeah.
Yes, and you put hot water in it. So we're going to get around and we're going to show you how we do it.
Be right back.
Okay. The very first thing they tell you to do is they want you to have a half a cup of water into 2 teaspoons of baking soda, not baking powder. Now Wade, you're going to want to get right in on this. Now that's ready. Okay, I'm going to bring this over here so it's ready to go. Now, in here, I've got 2½ cups of flour and a teaspoon of salt. To that, I'm adding half a teaspoon of each cloves, ginger, and cinnamon. Oops. Well, I feel like I'm racing the weather, I'll tell you. Mixing that up real good. Oh, I need the mixer. Now we've got our flour mixture done. We're gonna start our wet ingredients. The first part is a half a cup of Crisco, which I'll never buy that Crisco again, it was awful. And 2 cups of sugar. We're gonna cream it together. Now I'm doing it the old school way with electricity, or the new old school way. Didn't cream together very good, so I'm going to add my egg next. One large egg. I'm using this mixer because our other mixer is not charged. Now this is the reason why I don't like this Crisco. It ain't creamy worth using. But the first time I made this, it didn't cream like a hootenanny either. I'm gonna mix it up. to that, I'm going to start adding a cup and a half of applesauce. I'm going to do this in sections. Maybe help me get my stuff creamed a little bit better. Now this recipe calls for raisins. We like raisins in only a few things, and maybe not in our cakes. So we're going to omit the raisins. And instead of walnuts, since I'm allergic to them, we are going to add pecans.
Yeah, Olivia specifically used walnuts.
Not just any walnuts, black walnuts. So,
which we all love, but Angel can't have them because she's allergic to them.
That's right.
Still turned out pretty good with pecans.
Let me consult my recipe. Okay, I'm going to add this.
When's your baking soda going in?
Here in just a minute.
Just making sure that it was still sitting over there. So.
All right. I know it is there. Now that's looking more like cake. Now this isn't the consistency's gonna look kind of weird, but it'll be all right. That could have been bad. Now you could probably do this without the hand mixer, but I think your hand would get awful tired.
Olivia used a hand mixer that was not electric, probably.
Well, she probably used the hand crank.
Yeah, probably.
In all honesty, she probably did.
In theory, in 1930, no, it would have been in 1930. What did they say? 1933, I think.
Something like that.
Is when it's supposed to have been portrayed during the Depression.
So now, I'm going to take my spoon, and I just noticed there's some dry stuff right there, and I bet you there's some down in the bottom. So I'm just going to go through.
Just to find a little stir. Yeah.
Now, this is when you'd add your raisins or your walnuts. We're adding pecans.
Or both.
And this is not an exact measuring, just...
And I don't think there was any mention of when Olivia did it for sure in the movie, whether she had, I don't think she did anything but raisins.
No, she had homemade applesauce.
Oh yeah. Because she had to scrape all of her pennies together to have enough money to go get the sugar.
Yes.
Because during the Great Depression, sugar was something that was...
And with the price of eggs right now, that's why
That's
we're
about
on.
as bad. Yeah, they would have had their own eggs.
Yeah, well,
then.
we don't. We're in town, so.
It's coming along real good, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think I need some more pecans. Doesn't look pecan-y enough, does it? This is what the batter looks like. We're going to regroup and get the tube pan ready because we need to talk about that. We're using the deep 12 for this.
Because...
This is a little...
Yeah.
It'll be too close doing it on a regular 12.
Because we're using wire rack in the bottom. That way we have air gap.
For this. Now, Wade has so graciously cut a parchment paper. This is just from a regular roll of parchment for the bottom of this. Because we learned a very valuable lesson the first time we made this. It sticks to the top and you can't get it loose. So, we're going to spray this with some good old cooking spray.
Old school, Olivia probably would have used some butter or something and just kind of...
And she probably would have used flour.
Yeah, a lot of recipes, and then it's I've seen that, and I don't know if it works good or bad. Some of the recipes would actually do a butter or oil and then flour on top of that, and I don't know which works the best.
Now, you see how this is rolling just a little bit?
Hopefully,
as we put it down in here,
it'll stay
it's
flat.
staying
with the butter
flat.
on the spray. Good.
Yes, so it's doing just perfect. Hopefully that'll give us enough room to get it out. Now I'll tell you what, this is a heavy cake.
You want me to leave it in the, because we're going to have to pull it back out of that Dutch oven here in a minute, because we're probably going to preheat the Dutch oven. Want me to turn where you dump?
Yes, please.
Pour it in
I
there?
don't think we need to preheat the oven. I didn't preheat the oven in the house.
We probably don't.
Oops.
There, you did it.
Yeah, and I'm getting my pie in my work.
Okay, let me do another one more rotate. Well, we can kind of spread it out a little bit more from there.
Well, we will here in just a second. Because we're not like them other cooking shows. Most of them just go from right there and be done with it. We clean off our stuff. Okay. See, I pretty well got that.
Yep.
There.
Now, I keep being very careful to center it, because the idea is as the heat comes up around, you got a good air gap all the way around, air gap underneath, because we have that.
It's got a hole in the middle of it, and it will come up a little bit, but we want it all the way around.
Yeah.
One of the worst cakes we did in a Dutch oven was, it had all different kinds of candies in it. Do you remember chocolates? It had Heath bar and chocolate chips, and it was a really heavy cake. And we put it in one of these, but we didn't put the rack in there, and the top got done and the bottom was still raw. When we flipped it out, we had cake batter everywhere. So when you're cooking in your Dutch oven baking and you got something else in there, you got to have something for a gap in the bottom.
And when I get ready to put the charcoal on, I'll explain a little bit different of what we're going to do because of that.
So when we're ready to bake, we'll be right back.
Charcoal's ready. I'm going to move this over here so we're a little closer to the house, so if we get a little bit more rain, hopefully we'll be okay. We'll get this baking done. So I'm going to start out with some coals on the top, dump them out.
And you got two lost there.
Two there. Okay. Now, we are doing a normal bake, but let me stick around here. This is a deep 12-inch Dutch oven. If you are going by quart, these are actually 8-quart instead of 6-quart Dutch ovens. Now normally we put about 9 or 10 on the bottom around the outside edge for baking. But since we have that air gap underneath, we have a lot of that heat will go up around the bottom and get trapped, never of course go right up to the top of the oven. So that's why we get too much heat at the top, not at the bottom. So what we're going to do is add 2 extra charcoal to the bottom of our Dutch oven, and that hopefully will keep that extra heat on the bottom as it comes up underneath. So we'll see what that does. And then on top, we're just going to do our standard full ring around the outside. Keep a couple of them in the middle, and then we'll put a little ring on that top.
We're sorry about the noise in the background. We have a neighbor that likes to use his leaf blower all the time. And don't matter what season, he chases them leaves everywhere.
Yep, everywhere he goes. Okay, so now the plan was, Angel said she cooked it 45 minutes roughly, and it was too much, so we're thinking closer to 35, 40. So we should have enough heat with one batch of charcoal to get it done. Now, I don't know if I mentioned or not, we normally do about 30 pieces of charcoal for a 12-inch Dutch oven, but since you have a deep Dutch oven and you have that extra air gap that you gotta keep hot, we started with 32 pieces of charcoal we added 2. So that's what we're gonna do. We're still gonna do the standard 10-minute rotate, 10 more minutes rotate, and at 30 minutes we'll be checking it with a toothpick, see how it does, and we're probably gonna have to cook it some more than that, but everything works right. Hopefully we'll have a good done applesauce cake here in a bit. So we'll see you here in a bit. Okay. What did you discover, Angel, when you looked at the recipe again?
It helps if you read the whole recipe before you get started. That's something I've learned, need to practice more often. I learned that it's a 60-minute cook time, and I remember cooking it the full time. So the briquettes are kind of falling apart just a little bit. You usually get a good 30 minutes of really good hard cook time. So at 45, you're pushing it, so.
Yeah, we may not have quite enough heat.
So I'm gonna move, because after he gets done playing with these briquettes there.
Yeah, I'm trying to get these up here where they get good cooking. Finish them up. It's a challenge.
And then he'll turn that.
Okay, so I'm still gonna go ahead and rotate again. Keep it even cooking inside.
The Dutch oven one way and the lid the opposite direction. And why is that again?
Keep an even distribution of heat between the top and the bottom.
So he'll come back here in a few minutes and add those briquettes.
Give me a little bit more heat going.
As you see, he's got more briquettes.
Yeah, we don't think it's done yet, right? Because it's been 40 minutes, but it's probably not a bad idea to check because we've never done this.
Dutch
We've
oven.
only done this recipe one time anyway.
I'm in the way, aren't I?
No, you're fine. Get a quick look.
It's
no, you
not
can tell
done.
it's not
Yeah,
done. Okay.
it's not even halfway done.
Okay. At least we checked.
Yep.
Okay, we're good.
Because if you're looking, folks, you ain't a cooking. Well,
we had a little...
We don't have very many failures on this channel. But one thing that we consistently have a mishap with is a tube pan or a bent pan in one of these Dutch ovens.
Yep.
Don't know what the deal is, but it doesn't get done. We cooked that cake yesterday.
An hour.
And then we took it in and tried to take it out and realized it was still not done. So we put it in the oven and cooked it an additional 15-20 minutes.
15 minutes, yeah.
And then I cut it this morning and it was still raw in the middle. Don't know what happened. So we know this is a good recipe, so we're going to show you right now what it looks like when it's done right.
We changed our plan, and it's a different way of doing it a shallow 12, but
in cake form.
Yeah, we did it in cake form.
And see, it's done all the way through. It's solid all the way through. So we're gonna let this cool and we're gonna enjoy this one.
So one thing that we learned, or we can pass on to you that we have learned over the past, if you're looking at a recipe that you want to make and it says to do it in a tube pan or a bunt pan, That's great. It works good. You can figure out how to do it in a Dutch oven.
Which we have never figured out.
We haven't done it right yet, but to make it easier, if you wanted to do it in a Dutch oven, you could take that same recipe, that same amount of size that it makes, and put it in a 12-inch or 9x13 and make it into like a different shaped pan, but it's about the same amount of batter to make a good, successful cake, and it usually will cook in 30 to 40 minutes instead of 40, 50 to 60 minutes if a regular bunt or tube pan. So if you have time crunch or you don't like that shape or make it easier to get done, you can always do it in a 9x13 or a 12-inch. And yeah, you notice I got my stocking hat. This is the next day.
Yeah, this is the next day.
Even though the sun's shining, that's why
it's cold and the cold front's here. So
we didn't want to do it
going
today.
in.
So yep, we'll show you when we get it, a piece of this when it looks like it's supposed to. So thanks again for watching.